Welcome to Waiting on the Lord. Today is March 6, 2023. I have a few topics I want to talk about today. And one is China. Another is something I heard on Glenn Beck. If you watch Glenn Beck, I just watched this thing today, and I'm gonna play something for you. I'm just gonna play it on my computer so you can hear it yourselves. And also, this is the third thing is about the Catholic system and anathema. So I'll get to that. You are anathema, which means you are damned. You're damned if, and I'm going to read you some of them, and I'm going to talk about that. So I'm really passionate about China. I'm very passionate about China because, I self-studied war for a long time. Before I go on, I just want to say we are not saved by anything we do, by any works we do. We're saved through Jesus Christ, through his blood. He came here and he didn't sin, and he died for us on the cross so we could be saved, and all we have to do is believe in him. So it's not of works, but I always encourage people to do things like help people if you can, and to help the poor, right? Remember Jesus said, you'll always have the poor, but you won't have me. So let's get right into this. So China is killing North Americans, and that's no secret. And you know what the thing is? Before I even say anything, they'll probably still say it now, but people are awakening to this. That just me talking about this is xenophobe. I'm a racist. So they pay people to, not speak about China in any certain way. And Glenn Beck speaks out against China, as every administration should, depending on what they do. So I'll get back to Glenn Beck. I'm gonna read what I wrote. I like writing articles. Ask yourself, why is the United States allowing the fentanyl to pour through and kill Americans and fail to stop China from doing it? You really have to ask yourself that. In the process, child rape, rape in general, murder from the cartel. So when I say child rape, I mean like when all those migrants are going through, a lot of them are being raped. Rape in general, murder from the cartels, and they make billions compared to millions. They were making millions before per month, and now they're making billions because they're not doing anything and they're letting it build up. Trump would stop it, or he would stop most of it within just a number of weeks, and I know it. It makes me angry. Why hasn't I got to make sure this is recording. Why hasn't the United States, and I'm Canadian, okay, so if this makes me angry, I can't I can't imagine how it would make you feel. Why hasn't the states fully understood that Biden doesn't care and is putting in danger the public? He's putting you guys in danger. And many lives have been lost because of his decisions. He has the reprobate mind, seared like a hot iron, immovable on purpose. I was on OxyContin when my pain first began in 2004, one of the first to use it for pain, so I know about this opiate thing. We all know how OxyContin turned out. What a travesty. It bothers me that the U.S., Biden and his administration have no interest in stopping the bleeding of your country. It's purposeful. I venture to say that if you support him, there's something wrong with you. That's what I think. If you can't see that, that's what I think. No other president has done such things. He's paid for by China to cover up extreme evil and the deaths of 7 million, I think it's 7 million around the world. It's amazing how the media can spin things. So what I'm saying about that is it's China's fault. This is a China virus. It's amazing how the media can spin things for 3 years not knowing what truly happened. Of any place in China, which, by the way, is the size of the United States, it's a very big country, the virus began at the doorstep of the lab for virology that specializes in SARS 1 and 2 coronavirus. I find what's happening with China, specifically against the US, to be disturbing, and I know how and why they do it. I wonder if this video gets flagged. From the casual outside observer and from inaction, I don't see any interest to stop them by politicians. Well, I do. You know, on the Republican side, the conservatives, CIA, FBI, and police. No demonstrations. Like, I'm surprised your country doesn't have massive demonstrations about this. This goes deep. I imagine billions have been used to bury the COVID story. Everything we are now and have been going through was a result of the Communist Party. So I don't mean the people, okay? I mean the Communist Party. Even my hyper gallbladder that I have now from my allergic reaction to Moderna. That's why my breathing's worse in these videos and why I'm nervous. 2 years I've been waiting to have it removed, and yeah, I blame it on them. I shouldn't have ever had that shot. The rise of China, they rose because the United States made them rise from various reasons. All that cheap labor made in China, items we have, made the Chinese middle class rise. We did them a favor, and now they want to kill us. What I mean is the CCP, not the people. How long now have we let them en masse attend our prestigious universities? So they come in Canada too. Without question, they spy here. The West made them rise. To make a buck, everyone moved their factories to China. I remember that. I grew up during that time when everyone was doing that. Now it's 3 times cheaper in Mexico to make items because the wage gap is closed. We brought them out of poverty, and they know it. They depend on us, and yet they want us. So we could bring our factories back here. I believe it, and we would sustain. I believe that, and do well with more jobs. They want to hurt us and overthrow our governments because they're communists. And by the way, I'm like 2/3 of the way through the Communist Manifesto, reading that, so I know what they're doing. One of Canada's biggest chip makers was taken down because of spies. I think it was a chip maker, JDS or Nortel. I forget. They have spies everywhere. Many that come here from China are forced to spy by their government. Chinese police stations, illegal ones, were just discovered in Canada and possibly the US. Not just Canada, but the ones that they reported. They operated in small offices and threatened recent Chinese Canadians to go back home or they would harm their families. We shut that down only because of the growing outrage. So you heard about that right across from Seattle. So in British Columbia, Victoria or something. I think Iran has the same thing. Most people don't have a clue what's really going on, and it's right in front of them. Let me explain. How about TikTok? They own that, likely to collect data, and they say, oh, we don't, well, what with data? Like, they want your data, and we know that. Data is bought and sold. That's what our world is about. But people don't know that. Stop using TikTok. They endorse things like the NBA, and that creates sellouts that get paid big to be a cheerleader of the Chinese. Movies too, like Marvel movies. I don't know how deep these movies go. To appeal to their audiences instead of having their own Hollywood. Yes, Hollywood is sold out. They have sold out in more ways than one. It's no big surprise. What did the states think would happen by letting millions of Chinese students attend their universities. I mean, we knew this. I saw all the articles over the years. I have to say that the difference between a communist army or intellectual developments of products is in the freedom in the Democrats' favor. It's a general rule because communists don't have enthusiasm enough and freedom to explore methods because of earning more money and becoming well known, becoming famous for whatever you invent. It doesn't give them much reason to, when everyone's equal, right? They copy, spy, and steal throughout their history. For one, they don't give a damn if they copy or intellectual ideas and property to further themselves. Does that sound more like a virus than a human being? I don't mean that as a racist comment. They don't care about anyone. It's just, you hear about this every day. What I mean is the communism is a virus. I saw their products in a show. Okay, so I saw this on TV. This is, I forget what show it was. It was an automobile show. Here's an example, like things like Apple, like an Apple phone, they'll reproduce and call it Ackle. Jeep was Veep. Like a Jeep Cherokee would be a Veep Cherokee. That's what they would do, I'm not kidding. The Russians stole the atomic secrets, and they also copied all the American jet designs and bomber designs through World War II and the Cold War. Take a look at the comparisons. I write this because it seems to be coming to a head. Companies, governments have been scared to speak out, and Trump was amazing at it. I forget exactly why, and please someone write in the comments, what did Trump do so bad that the left hate him and use the media against him? It was one thing that started it all. Write that in the comments, please. I can't find out what that was. I hear so much about how powerful they are, and it is true. They have nukes, but nothing like the U.S. They have more silos, but the race isn't close. Because the U.S. looks weak and people are physically out of shape doesn't mean that we don't have the most serious weapons on the planet. I say we, North America. I don't believe manpower will play a large part of any new war. It may. Feeding that many people, feeding 1.4 billion people isn't that easy, and supplying weapons either. The U.S. has weapon systems you can't imagine, like MOABs and sensor-fused smart bombs, that just one bomb, sensor-fused weapon, can take out an entire battalion of tanks. A B-1 Lancer jet that can carry the biggest bomb load can take out an entire division of tanks of those bombs, an entire division of tanks. Nobody compares to the United States. Also, we have France, the UK, and their advanced weapons, subs at sea, not including nuclear-armed Israel. Israel right now. If the US really wanted, they could put 2 million troops on order, conscription, in 6 months of a, people wonder, if we can't make an army and, you have 340 million people, you could make 2 million in an army very easily in a 6 month, less than 6 months. Don't kid yourselves. Just so you know, the jets are better in the US and double the amount. I don't know how much better they are than the Russians. Some are comparable, but and so when it comes to flight training, the US has twice as much training in jets. Their missiles are much better too, which matters. Yeah, I know they're building ships like mad. They don't have as many aircraft carriers. That balloon, were they flying them before? Were they flying them before above the US like that? I'm not sure, but I don't think so. Not above nuclear sensitive zones anyways. I still don't really know the truth. Could it be the United States who flew those balloons? Could it be the US who did that? There's too much deception out there. Pardon me. I just got to take a little break here. I'm really passionate about this because, this is happening right. under our noses, and people don't know how much destruction this is causing. The U.S. border is happening on purpose. Open your eyes. It plays right into the Chinese hands. Why isn't the U.S. doing anything? I'm surprised you guys aren't having an uprising. That's how passionate I like. And I know it's starting to build up now, and I know the news stations are starting to get to a point. Who knows what terrorists have passed through already? The fentanyl, China is blatantly murdering your people and your administration. Biden is doing nothing because he's either paid off or it's for another political reason. China, $31 million he's made, I think. That's what they said. I don't know how. China doesn't want competition. They want us gone, overthrown. So they don't want competition. They want us gone. People need to wake up to the fact that Joe Biden's inaction is not about age, it's on purpose. It sure feels like the communist agenda, a one world government, right from the get-go of his taking power. Destroy the system within. And I've watched all the conservative political stuff about this. They all agree. If this was 45 to 60 years ago, 30 years ago, you would have chaos through mass protest on your hands. Yes, you would. Think of what will happen when the restrainer is gone. When the restrainer is gone, what that means is that evil will be held. I think right now evil is being held back by like a good margin. And so when the restrainer is gone, evil will flourish so much that people, and I pray to God I'm not here. That's all I can say. Nothing will be held back. The evil, the continual evil. There will be no restraining. Generations that don't have God. It doesn't take much time to pass without prayers in school and Bible teaching before a country falls apart. The Book of Kings explains that story repeatedly. I don't care to know exactly how it works, but as Trump said, China essentially uses the U.S. as a piggy bank. Not only are they buying up like 1%, so take a look on Google or whatever search engine. Right now they own 1% of your land. They send food to their people from your farms because they need to, because they simply don't have enough to feed themselves. When people think China is so powerful, they don't understand how much of a thin line they are hanging from in respect to feeding their population. So I'll go and look up Joe Rogan. China has 10 years left. There's an expert he has on, and he explains why they have 10 years left. It's very eye-opening. They're aggressive for a reason. Also, they're playing with fire and could lose that land in the States because they're using it to spy on military bases. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. They don't give a damn. Know that. They think they own the entire South China Seas. No other countries that are on the ocean there can lay claim. That's what they're saying. Vietnam is there. I'd have to take a look on a map. And so there's other countries too. They run over anyone they can. If we just cut them off a lot earlier, they wouldn't be in the spot they're in. We knew this too. The one-child China policy in the 80s hurt them big time. They would, okay, so this is just what I hear, okay? I don't know if it's true. One site says it's possibly 30 to 60 million missing girls. But in another article it says, and this is called infanticide, they wanted males, right? They're wondering where they went. And another article says that it could be that they just didn't take, they didn't write it down on paper when they were born type thing. But from what I understand, there were quite a few killed, and it was also out of because of extreme poverty. So I was going to say some stuff to that, but I'm not going to because I don't truly know the truth to it. So ask yourself, who is the real enemy? Communism killed 80 to 100 million people under Mao Zedong. 80 to 100 million people. That doesn't include Joseph Stalin. From what I hear, they may be aggressive because of their aging population and overwhelmingly men. They have a big problem on their hands, believe me. Weak opposition created this and what we're going through. They aren't peaceful to me based on what their mind retraining camps. So they have camps with. I saw one thing, they let the journalists go in. And these people, you just knew they were scared. They're Muslim, they're Christian, and they're retraining them to adhere to atheistic things. Do you know the stars? I think this is Russia, maybe China too. The stars on the red flag, the communist flag, stands for the continents, and it stands for their will to want to take them over and spread communism over all the continents. It's their duty. Pardon me, I'm going to take a sip here and I'm going to get to the other part. I have dysphonia in my throat, so if I swallow right away, I can drink faster than this. If I swallow right away, I'll choke. Okay. Do you know in World War II, if it wasn't for the Americans, the Canadians, the British, the Indians, India, people from India, China would have been rolled over by Japan. So people don't know and talk so much about people talk so much about, the 6 million people who died in the Holocaust, Jews. Don't forget, many Christians died, many mentally ill died. But in Japan, I think it was I'm going to forget the year, maybe 37, it was before the war, like the rape of Nanking. In all, they killed, of Chinese, 13 million. By the end of World War II, 13 million Chinese were dead. That's twice as much and another million than the Holocaust. People don't talk about that, and I do feel bad for that. So if we didn't go in and save, they'd fail to be a nation. So we saved them, and this is how they treat us. So I'm going to get to something else here quickly. I'm going to get to, which one am I going to get to first? I'm going to read the anathemas. I'm just going to read like 5 of them, but I'm going to get to this first. So do you watch Glenn Beck? He's a God-fearing man. I recommend you do. I was just watching his thing today, so it was today, and I'll leave it in the description. And I'll say before I talk about this, woe to those who put a stumbling block in front of a child. You know the rest, right? It would be better if a millstone was tied around his neck. So he's showing an 11-year-old. So this is about, drag queen story hour, and we know it's all over North America. I talked about my last video. It's all over North America. Well, they're talking about this 11-year-old kid is reading in front of people a book that's in his library, and I'm going to play it to you right here. It's just about a minute, and I'm going to get to the anathemas. Just give me a sec. I can't unplug this, so I hope you can hear it well. I'll turn it way up. So he's in front of like this conference. The board of Wyndham Raymond School District, February 15th. Listen to this.
Knox Zajac. I'm 11 years old and I go to Wyndham Middle School. I'm a 6th grader. I was in the library and this book was on a stand. I'd like to read you a page. My back over my hips as I ask if we should take our clothes off. And he's saying yes before I finish my sentence. He's pulling off my t-shirt, laughing when I can't undo his shirt buttons. He's undoing my belt. I'm reaching into his bedside drawer for a condom. We're kissing. Again, we're rolling over. Obviously, you can see where this is going. I don't know if it's because we're feeling especially emotional or just tired, or these past couple of weeks have been too much. But this reminds me so much of the first time we had sex. We were both terrified, and the whole thing was kind of terrible because we didn't know what we were doing. But it was good too, so good, because we were a mess of emotions, and we were scared and excited, and everything felt new. So this sort of feels like that. Nick touches me like he's scared that any minute. Now, this book was at my middle school, and it was on a stand. When I rented it out to show my dad it, the librarian asked if I wanted more and if I wanted a graphic novel version.
Well, I'm not uncomfortable. Are you uncomfortable with that? There's just an 11-year-old reading about that. What's the problem? And do you want a graphic?
So there it is. I'm going to leave that in the description box. You can see that. You wonder why our society is falling apart. You know, you take out the Bible, you start doing drag queen story hour, take prayer out of school, and you wonder why people are the way they are. So, how much time do I have here? Okay. Just give me a second here. I don't understand. I don't want to understand. This is from the Council of Trent, okay? Done in 15 whatever. It was a counter to the Reformation, Protestant Reformation. You know, where I believe they nailed those 95 or so points on the door. And so they came up with a counter to it, and they wrote this down. So all I want to say to you is, if you're a Catholic, understand this, that if you're a Catholic, are Catholics saved? I say yes. I don't want to say no. If you believe in Jesus Christ, if you're not following the doctrines, if you believe that Mary is the Queen of Heaven, if you worship Mary, you're worshiping idols. There's nothing more to that. You worship no one but the Father. So read over these anathemas. Anathema means you're damned. And so they wrote this. If you don't follow this, you're not saved, basically. So the first one, so original sin they cover first, is a Catholic doctrine that teaches that all human beings are born with the taint of Adam and Eve's sin. This taint can only be removed through baptism. Some Protestants redefined or rejected original sin. The following canon laws were enacted, canon laws, to punish heretics in the church who rejected this belief. So I'm going to read you about 4. So if you don't believe in these, you're anathema, you're damned. Number 1, if anyone does not confess, some of them make sense, and I'm not going to go over them all to try to understand. If anyone doesn't confess that the first man, Adam, when he had transgressed the commandment of God in paradise, immediately lost the holiness and justice wherein he had been constituted, and that he incurred through the offense and the prevarication the wrath and indignation of God, and consequently death, with which God had previously threatened him, and they make it very tough, and together with death, captivity under his power, who thenceforth had the empire of death, that is to say, the devil, and that the entire Adam, through that offense of prevarication, was changed in body and soul for the worse. Let him be anathema. I'll just pick some shorter ones. If anyone denies that by the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, which is conferred in baptism, the guilt of original sin is remitted, or even asserts that the whole of that which has the true and proper nature of sin is not taken away, but says that it is only raised or not imputed, let him be anathema. Justification. If anyone saith that man be justified before God by his own works, whether done through the teaching of human nature or that of the law, without the grace of God through Jesus Christ, let him be anathema. There's some bad ones. If anyone saith that without the prevenient inspiration of the Holy Ghost, and without his help, man can believe, hope, love, or be patient as he ought, so as the grace of justification may be bestowed upon him, let him be anathema. If anyone say that man's free will, moved and excited by God, by assenting to God, exciting and calling. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to read them actually. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave the link to them because my stomach is stabbing a lot. And you can read them. I'll just pick another one. If anyone says that a man who is born again and justified is bound of faith to believe that he is assuredly in the number of the predestinate, let him be anathema. If anyone says that he will for certain, of an absolute and infallible certainty, have that great gift of perseverance unto the end, unless he have learned by this special revelation, let him be anathema. If anyone says that the grace of justification is only attained by those who are predestined unto life, but that all others who are called, and called indeed, but receive not grace, as being by the divine power predestined unto evil, let him be anathema. This just goes on and on and on and on. So what I'm saying to people, so I was Catholic, I'm just Christian now, okay? Is that if you break any of these, you're anathema. You have to understand that. If you break these, you're anathema. Let him be damned. Thanks for watching today's video. I'm just going to cut it off here. Have a good day. Have a good week.